All right, good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for coming today. I know this is the last session of the day and everyone's all anxious to get going and see you at Mercer, so thank you for coming and watching me. Today I'm going to be talking about the emergency notification system at Wilfrid Laurier, so I'm just going to get started. So my name is Kathryn Hertzberger. I'm a Systems Analyst 3 at Wilfrid Laurier University in Waterloo, Ontario. I work for Enterprise Solutions. A little bit about Laurier for those of you who don't know. We were founded in 1911 as the Evangelical Lutheran Seminary of Canada. We changed to Waterloo Lutheran University, and then in 1973 we became Wilfrid Laurier University. So we kept our initials but changed our name. We have multiple campuses and locations. We have Waterloo as our main campus, but we also have Brantford, Kitchener, and Toronto. We have about 17,000 plus undergrad and grad students. We have about 2,500 staff and faculty, so making up about 20,000. And a little bit fun information, we are home to the Academic Council on the United Nations System, so ACUNS, if anyone's heard of that. We have the Penderecki String Quartet, WLU Press, which actually publishes and prints publications for our faculty, and the Robert Langan Art Gallery. So just a couple shots. So the first one is the main campus, then the Brantford campus, the Kitchener campus, and our Toronto campus. So why did we want to have an emergency notification system? Everybody knows, you've heard in the news all about everything that's been going on with school shootings and stuff, and so we thought it'd be a good thing to do. So just gonna flip through a couple of things here. So when you see these names, everybody knows what happened. Just makes you think. So, in 2010, our Special Constable Service came to us and it wanted to implement an emergency notification system at Laurier. So we began the RFP process. In January 2011, we had vendor presentations. And then in May 2011, we decided to go with Benbria's Blazecast. So we initially decided to go with desktop client and text messaging. In fall 2011, we brought our servers online. In the winter of 2011, 2012, we started figuring out how to do the programming for the cell phone capture portion for the SMS. Then in the spring and summer 2012, we did the testing and deployment of the desktop client. And at that time, we decided to include email for staff and faculty only, not for students. In winter 2012, we did the marketing plan. And January 14th of this year, we went live with the system. So this is just a screenshot of the Blazecast software, just to give you an idea what it looks like. So for the desktop side, it's a desktop client that has to be installed on each of the individual machines. So we had 2,500 plus computers, that's PCs and Macs, over our multi-campuses. As a university, I'm sure you can appreciate that we had multiple OSs that we had to deal with, plus the fact that we have wired, wireless, and VPN connections. So it was a bit of a struggle, I think, to try and identify all the machines to install the software on and then to get it to work on all the software. In addition to the desktop clients, we also have digital displays, like a lot of universities do. We have point of sale in our bookstores and our food outlets. So the desktop support folks decided to use a collaborative approach. So instead of just doing it and telling everyone that it was going to be done, they actually discussed the project with the various employee and student groups. So they got buy-in from them, sort of sold it to them and said, this is going to be a good thing for you. So all personal productivity machines on campus were automatically included. There were some exclusions. So CPAM is our marketing staff. So they're the ones that actually are the ones who will be writing and responding to, if there is actually ever a threat, we'll be writing and responding to. So we couldn't shut down their machines. All the research computers we decided to leave alone. And of course, the special constable service, because they are the business owners, and so we can't be turning off their computers. So they were already in the process of creating a naming convention to allow easy grouping of computers. So that worked out to our advantage by the time we decided to implement the ENS, because it was easy to identify groups of computers. So you can see there they have campus, building, room for, phone extension. So they had started that process before the ENS came along, but it actually worked out well. So here's some of our groups that we have. So you can see that we've got the description of the name of it, the description, how many connected. So the numbers connected and the number of computers, the number connected changes all the time depending on who's actively on their computer, whether it's turned on or off. And then just a little bit of detail for that. You can see down here, you can see down here they have by host name, so you can include anything in here by this. So it was a much easier way than having to go out and find every IP address for every machine and putting it in that way. Sorry. So in addition to identifying the desktop clients and installing the software on that, we decided that we wanted to be able to capture their cell phones, because our students, our staff and faculty, because we are multi-campus, they can be traveling at any point between all three. So we had a big discussion about how we were going to do that. And at the end of it, we decided to use our Laurier system, which our school, our administrative software is Banner. As part of Banner, it has a self-service module that's like a portal for students. So we decided, because we wanted to be able to authenticate the people who were supplying us with their cell phone numbers, we didn't just want anybody to be able to enter a cell phone, because we as the university are responsible for paying if we send out messages. So we decided to use our Lauriers. So what I did was I created a redirect after login. So normally when someone logs into Laurier, it authenticates them and takes them to the main menu. So what I did was I added an extra step that says, if you have an ENS phone number in the system, then take you to the main menu. If you don't, it takes you to the capture page. This way we can, because we don't control when students and staff and faculty log in and out of the online system. So this was just a way of saying when the first time they log in after we go live, that we can capture their cell phone. So this is what it looks like. It's kind of boring, I understand. Because it's Banner, the way the web pages are generated it's dynamically generated HTML from the database, so we don't get to be all fancy and sexy like PHP and stuff. But so there's a big preamble. That was all because all the stuff you have to tell people about why you're collecting their data and stuff. I added the section myself about the cell phone provider, because I used to be on a pay-as-you-go phone, and pay-as-you-go phones aren't allowed to get text messages from short codes. So I figured if I didn't know that, there's probably a lot of people that also did not know that. So we added that section. So there's the big preamble. Also, the important part too is that it's only used by Special Constable Service. We don't sell their information, we store it, and it's not used for anything else other than what it's for. This is the main body, so this is the subscribe option, so they can put in their phone number. Then we have our terms and conditions, and it tells you what it's going to do afterwards. So if I was a student, I put in my, or staff or faculty, I put in my phone number, and then I click on subscribe, and I'd be gone. So once you do that, then this is the next window that pops up, or the next page that pops up, tells you the phone number that was subscribed and what's going to happen next. So we don't have, Carleton was a big help to us, or to me, during this development, and they actually had a live thing. So as soon as you typed in your phone number and said submit, it sent off a request to the Blazecast server, which then came back immediately with the request. Our business owners, Special Constable Service, decided they didn't want to do that, so we have a batch process, which is why we have the 24-hour delay. Oops. So, also on the main page, students and staff and faculty have the option of declining the service. So if they don't want to supply a phone number, they have that option. So you can see it just says, if you don't want to subscribe, you can decline. And then the bottom line there was vetted by our university lawyer, just to make sure that everybody understands it's all, it's an official thing. It's not we're just grabbing their information for bad things. So when they press on decline, then they says your request to decline has been saved. But it also gives you an option right there. If you decline an error and now want to subscribe, you can click on the button. It'll take you back to the main page. So now the main menu looks like this. So I added this piece here. So as soon as you log in, you can see the link right as you log in. We decided to do it in red so people could see it. But you don't have to do anything. You can just go on with your regular business. Oh. So if you were here and you decided to, you had your phone number subscribed, now you've changed your phone number, you can click on that. It will take you to this page and it says, here's the phone number you previously subscribed. If you want to change it, you can update your subscription. So there's hopefully, people change their phone numbers all the time, so we don't have any control over that. So we're expecting a lot of people to be self-aware and change their phone numbers and update it when their numbers change. If they previously declined, this is what they will see. Again, they have the option. If they declined or now they want to subscribe, they can click on the button. So when they click on subscribe, we have a bunch of telephony rules that go in behind, because we don't want junk data. So I created a database function that just takes the phone number as entered and does some quick checks on it. So as you can see, there's a couple checks for area code. So it can't be any one of the big ones. It can't be left line. The phone number can't be a Laurier phone number, so we have some assigned phone numbers that are our main numbers, so I put those in there. Can't be the bell number, can't be a string of same, can't be left blank, and must be unique. So if all of those checks pass, then we assume that the phone number is valid and it'll be accepted. So they're stored in the database, and we decided at the outset that we were only going to allow one phone number per person, just to make it easier. To try and maintain or to try and coordinate multiple phone numbers would be a bit of a programming nightmare. So we said, no, we're just going to allow one. If it changes, then you change it. And basically what happens if you change it is it deletes your old one and adds your new one. The subscribed cell phone numbers are stored on an individual basis in the database. And you can see they have a specific telephone code, and then they have their phone number. What we decided to do, this piece, for the people who decline, that's more of a covering ourselves, because in the case of emergency, if we sent out a text message and someone came back to us and said, hey, I didn't get a notification, what's going on? we can go back in the database and check and make sure, did they subscribe a phone number or did they decline? And it also captures the date as well. So, and also too, with the redirect on the front login page, if I didn't store them as a decline, they would constantly be asked each time they logged in, so that would not make people happy. So what about visitors to Laurier? So as I'm sure a lot of schools, you also use your residences for hotels during the summertime. So we needed to be able to include those people if they're staying. So Hotel Laurier and Special Constable Service came up with this letter and basically says, if you're going to be there for longer than 14 days, we have this service. You can subscribe, it's free to subscribe. And then at the end of the day, or when you leave, they added a piece that says, after checking out, we recommend you deactivate the emergency notification system. So, then we also have other, we have ways of uploading data from other sources, like all of the, special services in Brantford and Waterloo can add theirs, the police services, they can add their phone numbers and that, but we can do that manually. So, you have their cell phone numbers, now what? So it's all well and good to grab the data, but now what are you going to do with it? So, on our database server side, we have a nightly process that runs at 11:30. It goes and runs a shell script that runs a SQL script that goes and grabs all of the active ENS phone numbers. And it also retrieves email addresses for staff and faculty. And the nice thing is, even if the individual does not have a cell phone number subscribed, we can still grab their record and grab their email address. It sends it to a special email for monitoring, and then it also copies the resulting CSV file to the Blazecast server. So we've used Loris to capture the data. We have the data in the database. Every night we run a script that grabs the data. We send it over to Blazecast. So that's just an example of what it looks like. So you'll see right here, I have Laurier all email and Laurier all SMS. So a little bit later, I'll show you we have groups within Blazecast. So if we need to quickly send an email to everybody or send a text message to everybody, we have predefined groups that people are subscribed in. We don't have to worry about trying to figure out what building they're in, what department they're in, whatever. We can just say, send it to all SMS. So then on the Blazecast server, we have 2 scheduled tasks that run nightly. We have, at 3 a.m., we import the contacts file. And I have to say the Blazecast software is really cool in this regard because we send all names all the time, and it's smart enough to know that yesterday my record was in, but today it's not, so it deletes me. So it's always up to date. And then at 7 a.m., we send out the opt-in request to new cell phone numbers. Now that's a process that we actually engaged Ben Bria in writing for us because they didn't have an automated process. You actually had to have someone physically go into the machine, log onto the machine every day and push a button to send it. That was their automation, was someone had to push a button, and we said, no, that's not going to do. So we had them, we engaged them and had them write that piece for us. Yeah.
So then your batch process is a complete renewal of the database then?
Yes, on the Blazecast server, yes, so, yeah.
Have they given you a time frame of how long that takes?
It's very fast. So we're sending over now probably 10,000 records a night, and it's done like 2 minutes.
Okay, so it's fairly.
Yeah, it's very fast. I don't have to have a 4-hour delay, but what we decided to do, the reason we picked the 7 a.m. to send out the opt-in requests is we didn't think people would appreciate getting a text message at 3 o'clock in the morning going, hey, yeah. 7 a.m. might be bad too, but yeah, especially if we're talking about students, but we figured 7 a.m. is a little bit more likely to be acceptable.
What do you mean by the opt-in?
Oh, okay, so I'll get to that. So because You can no longer subscribe people directly to services. You have to send them an invitation and they have to accept it. So what we send them is an opt-in request. So even though they've given us our phone number and they said, yes, subscribe me, that's not enough. They have to receive an opt-in message on their phone and they have to respond appropriately.
Where do you do that as soon as they do the request?
Right, and we could have done that, but Special Constable Service decided that they wanted to do batch mode every night as opposed to on demand.
Do you have a reference for that new rule? Is that, I'm not aware of that.
I'm not sure actually. That was just what I heard. That was. I thought that was a. Sorry, I'm looking at my director.
This is a federal government.
CRTC.
You cannot, otherwise you'd be accused of spamming.
But they subscribe online.
You have to, well,
Hmm.
yeah, the telco doesn't know that you subscribe. And that's what it's the telco that's on the hook, each individual one.
So the
They're the
telephone.
ones who will be fined directly if they're accused of passing through, could be spam messages via SMS.
Right. So I, as a subscriber, have to actively subscribe. You can't just say, even though yes, I was on here and I said subscribe my phone number, I still have to go through that other process to say, oh, I'm going to opt in, and okay, yes, I really want to. It's the are you sure question.
How is the difference so that you do it right away versus the next moment?
Oh, that's not. No. That
If you see that they're special constables, that's our client in this case.
yeah, the
Tell
client.
them what to do. We have no idea why.
No. That's what they wanted, so that's what we did. So in the Blazecast server, I created the task to import the cell phone number, so you can create it as a scheduled task. You can also do it manually, but in our case, we want to schedule it. So you can see every day at 3 a.m. It ends never. So that's the import task. So that's importing the data, the cell phone number data. Then, and this is what it looks like. So you can see I have my name and my phone number, but then I know this is a bit confusing. This means I am a user because I also have a login to the system. So this is how they differentiate between a contact and a user. Not all that clear, but that's their software. So if I was to choose edit, you can see that it's my phone number and my email address that come over, with cell phone being my primary contact. So these are the groups that I was talking about on the import of the contact, the CSV file. We saw Laurier all email and Laurier all SMS. So as they come over, they get added to those groups. So if we had to send out an email, it would go to 2,450 people. If we had to send out a text message, it would go to 8,005 people. Because those are the numbers of cell phone numbers that we've captured. So this is the new piece that we had Fendria code for us so that we could automate it as a scheduled task, just like we do for the import, rather than have someone sit there and have to push a button. So here's the text messages. So the opt-in, I don't know if I can see it, it's really kind of faded. So this is what they'll get at 7 a.m. So to confirm opt-in to Laurier SMS alerts, reply, join WENS. This approximately 2 messages per month. We also had to put in because of Bendria just explained it to me. There's a law that you have to tell people to expect how much traffic they're going to expect. And then also message and data rates and reply, that also has to be by law included. So if they were to reply join WLUENS, then this is the next message that they get. So it says welcome to Laurier, terms and conditions at the tiny URL, approximately 2 messages a month, reply stop to cancel, reply help for help, message and data rates reply. If they decided at this point to type stop WLUENS, then this is the message that they would get. It just says, it confirms you no longer receive alerts. If you have questions, go to community safety. Message and data rates may apply. So I apologize for that. It's kind of clunky with the new line feeds and stuff, but that's how you set it up within the Blazecast software. And just like every other text message, you're limited to 180 characters, which is why they have the tiny URL.
And is it the Blazecast server that processes those joins and stops?
Yes, yes. So the Blazecast server sends it out to an aggregator, cell phone aggregator company. So basically they send them the request and the aggregator dishes them out and sends them on their way. So the Blazecast server is really just a repository for the data. To do the actual send of the text messages comes from the aggregator.
Right, but the join eventually gets to the Blazecast server and then
Yes.
it's up in the database and says, hey, this is an active user now.
Yes, yeah. So you can, at any given time, you can check the opt-in status of all the numbers in your system. You can see opt-in requested, so that means the very first message has been sent out. Opted in means they have actually responded with join, WLUENS, and there's also an opted out, so you can keep track of it that way. Now the interesting thing with the Blazecast software is that your information is in two places. So you have your contact information and you have your cell phone opt-in status information. So in order for you to receive a text message from the service, you have to be in the system as a contact with your cell phone number, but your cell phone number has to be in the separate place with an opt-in status of opted in. So unless those two things are true, you won't get an email or a text message. So when it goes through each night and it finds the people who are missing from the contacts and deletes them, it doesn't delete their phone number. So the phone number remains for perpetuity opted in unless they themselves send a message that says stop. But it's okay because as long as the two pieces don't exist, if we sent out a broadcast, they wouldn't receive the text message. That's a design of Ben Bria's, that's not.
So who authorizes the release of the text message flow?
Oh, I'm getting to that. Okay, so quickly before we do that, we have opt-in counts. So within the software, you can see at any given stage who is opted into your system. So you can see at the time I read this, but I screenshot this. We had 5,064 people subscribe, 29,000 sitting out there in limbo, and then 60 people actually opted out. Which, that number always, I don't understand that number because I don't understand why you would go through the whole process of opting in, get the text message, and then opt out. But, yeah.
You happen to know the percentage of opt-ins that are students?
I can find that out. If through this, I don't know. No, I could find that out if I did some scripting on the banner side, on our database side. Yes.
You send reminders to people, maybe they missed a message, they never did that reply.
Yeah, because it's interesting, when we released the software on January, that opt-in requested number hit about 2K and it stayed pretty steady ever since. And so that was January. So in March, we sent out a reminder because you can resend the opt-in request, and it really hasn't changed all that much. It's always been a mystery to me why it's sitting at about 2K. So it's either people subscribe, maybe they couldn't get the wrong code, maybe they thought they could, they just didn't. But I know, and it's kind of strange that no one's followed up to say, hey, I subscribed my phone, but I never got an opt-in message.
Have you ever thought about just taking a sample set, calling them and see what's going on?
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm looking at Julie, she's the project leader. So we've had this discussion, but we can't get buy-in from the business owner to do that.
Call them?
Yeah, so me, as an analyst, I'm thinking, that's weird. I want to see that, but I can't get them to go forward with that, so.
There's been some turnover in the special constables area.
Yeah.
So we're having some difficulty getting them to take ownership of this particular service. It's not an IT service.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we've been trying to work with them, how to make them understand this is your system.
Mhm.
You need to do some more marketing. You need to investigate these are not opt-in yet. So we're working through those.
Or give us the permission to do so sort of thing, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because me, I'm dying to know why.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I'd like to
I would
know.
like to do that.
And on the BlazeCast side, it's not really easy to find out who the opt-in requested people are, because if you look back here, it's basically, the long code is basically like a big filing cabinet. So BlazeCast or Benbria has one long code for all of their clients. So that's the big, it's like a big filing cabinet. So we as WLU have a drawer. So that's WLU ENS. So that's why you have to respond with join WLU ENS. Because if you just say join, instead of going into our drawer, you go into the big filing cabinet and you're lost forever. Which is like that one, like 780. I don't even know who that is. 905, it could be one of ours. But yeah, so it's not easy on the BlazeCast side to find, because they have them separated. You have to try and figure, and they don't have reports that you can go in and say, show me just the opt-ins. So this is the resend. So those 29,000 people that are, or 2,900 people that are sitting there, I can always have the option of resending it. But each time we send it, it costs us money, because we as a university are responsible for paying for the messages going out. When you receive them, whoever's receiving the message, they're responsible for paying for it. So we try not to do that very often, but we do have that option. And also too, if you added someone manually, there could be a button here, you could send a new opt-in request. So that's how we add all of the extra people that are sitting, that we add manually. So as of last Thursday, when I took these numbers, on the database side, we have 8,964 people who have provided us with their cell phone numbers. But we have 10,000 and change, 10,500, who have declined the service. So that means they get to the login page, they log into Laura's, they see the number, and they actually pull and decline. So as that number, I don't like that number, but I don't know what we can do. You can lead a horse to water, but you can't make them drink. So, and then on the BlazeCast side, yeah, those numbers, they don't quite add up to 8,964. There's about 40 or so numbers that are different, and I haven't really looked to see why they're lost. So, when would we push the button?
That's a question about the database, or your sort of, the least is the question I have. What, do you do something in the database, for example, come April when they're no longer in school on campus for the summer semester, do you remove them from the database and then put them back in September, or?
No, we made a decision that it's the onus for keeping that data up to date is on the student or whoever has subscribed their cell phone.
Okay.
Yeah.
And is that sent to them at any time? Like, is that part of, I missed that part in the signing process.
Is what sentiment?
So for example, I leave the campus for April, I don't want to receive any alerts until I come back in September. So how do you handle that? If you do, I mean, if you don't, that's fine. I just was wondering.
It's up to the individuals to actually do the thing to stop WLU ENS. It's the user's responsibility to protect the staff and students. If you're a student and you ignore it, then if you send one a message, you'll receive a message. It's an education process. We have a lot of training material. We have a lot of FAQs on the Special Counsel's website, so it's more of a training process. At some point in time, I think we will get to the point where we will need to go into the database. You might have graduates who graduated 20 years ago.
Right, that's
Yeah.
the next question. So
Yeah.
you're going to remove graduate students.
Yeah, Unfortunately, Banbury doesn't have built-in tools for those kinds of things, so we're going to come up with their own tools internally or work with Banbury to do so.
Work with, sorry?
Banbury.
So they built BlazeCast, the vendor, sorry, I couldn't think of the word.
Thanks so much, appreciate it.
Okay, so when would we push the red button? So there was a lot of big discussion about what would constitute an emergency on campus. There was all kinds of people involved. And so what we decided was the only time we would use this is if there was an active shooter. So, and then that would be sent to everybody. So what happens is it gets sent to the desktop clients, so that a big red screen comes up and it shuts off their machine, tells them what to do, and then they'll also get the text message. And then with authorization, we have those other ones, so natural disaster, chemical spill, bomb threat, those notifications would be sent to the specific locations. And that's why having the computer groups was very helpful for us to do that, because we could say, I mean, if something was happening, if there was a chemical spill on the Brantford campus, me in Waterloo, I don't need to necessarily, I mean, I can be aware of it, but I don't have to worry about it. I don't have to take it under my desk. So there's 34 people who are authorized to send. That was one of your questions. So it's just special constables and dispatchers, because they're the ones that will be alerted to the situation. They have predefined messages. We decided to include campus and building in the message because just after I was at a conference sometime, and there was a lady talking about how she got a notification that her son's school was shut down, but she had two sons in two different schools, and it didn't say which school. It just said school shut down, come pick him up, and she was like, which one? So we decided to include campus and building, so that would make it more informative. And we're going to test the system 3 times a year. So we've already had for Brantford campus, we had a test of the desktop client. At the end of this month, we're going to have a test in Waterloo of the desktop client and text messaging. So some of the challenges that we had in terms of the desktop client was identifying the scope of the project, what machines to include, what to exclude. We had to deal with multiple platforms, multiple operating systems, wired, wireless, and VPN. Then on the cell phone side, it was trying to figure out when to start the capture so we catch the majority of students. And then, of course, getting the students to subscribe to cell phones is an uphill battle, as you can see by my numbers. And it's funny because I talked to the BlazeCast guys, and they think 5,000 subscribed is great. And I think out of 20,000 potentials, 5,000 is not so great. So I know we answered questions during, but does anybody have any questions now? Yes?
What are the other vendors?
We came into the project later. So
Yeah.
I'm not sure that the software was already purchased and servers were installed. If you're really interested, let me know and I can get that information to you.
Yeah, I think there was 2 or 3. It's interesting because Banbury doesn't do their own sales, so they actually have sales companies that sell their software for them. So we had two presentations of BlazeCast, but 2 different vendors.
And do you have the possibility to have it hosted or it was just?
It can be hosted or hosted.
It could be both, but we have the servers on site.
Yeah.
Different servers go back to each other and they're redundant and they're on our own.
Does your on-campus vendors have the ability to sign up for this as well, like working restaurants and maintenance people?
Yes, as long as they have, so all of our employees have a Loris login and password. It's their Laurier ID, so it's the same ID as how they get paid. So yes, they will have a way to log in. That was the other reason we decided to do it that way, because we could validate and make sure that anybody who is an employee or a staff, or a
So these are
student,
people that aren't necessarily employees but work on campus.
they can be added separately through the BlazeCast. Yeah, yeah.
If we have contractors.
Yeah.
The construction company who's always on site, we can manage that up to the system.
Mhm.
It's an option. We have our Brantford and Waterloo fire departments and police departments in the system as well. So if we have to send out an emergency message, they will get a text message and know what we need if there's an issue.
Yes.
concerns with texting as a emergency notification solution is the whole idea of, delays and
Yes.
clogging of the system. What have you seen, with your testing? Have you seen delays with the longest it took one phone to get the
Well,
message or?
yeah, that's an issue, and that we haven't done a full test of the text messaging, so our test at the end of June is going to be our benchmark, really. And that was one of the reasons we decided not to go with email, because, especially email to students, because we have 17,000 students. So our email guy, he got it down to 6 minutes for delivery, 3 minutes. But in an active shooter situation, 3 minutes is too long. So, I mean, we understand that even with text messages, we're dealing with cell phones and wires, and people will be calling and, like what happened in Boston or during 9/11 when everything went down, right? Because everybody was jamming it. So it's going to be interesting. We're not saying it's foolproof, but at least we're trying to do something to help notify, because not everybody sits at a desk with a computer.
I'm from Waterloo. We do text messaging. We have about 30,000 SMS in multiple hours. So I was just interested to see if there's any other ideas that we're thinking about using Twitter, all sorts of things. Because SMS is really not reliable enough.
Yeah.
To start getting
Bigger numbers,
more than a few thousand.
right? So that's it'll be interesting for us to
We
see.
went with SMS because it's the lowest denominator type of approach. Not everybody has smartphones. You have to realize that. A lot of people still have feature phones. Pretty much everybody can use SMS.
And as part of the emergency response plan for all the campuses, our CCAN, which is our Communications and Public Affairs Department, if there's a situation, then I'm sure that they already have the Twitter and the Facebook, prepared communications regulation. It's part of it.
I mean, we understand it's not perfect, but we figured, to be proactive and try and at least do something for our students. Did I see another question? Yeah.
Does your university have mobile app? Consider sending notifications to that as well?
Do we have a mobile app? Ken, do we? We don't. No, I'm looking at Ken. He's my director, that's why.
We're building the mobile.
We're doing it right now.
We're thinking about whether we fold the ENS into it or not. We're not
Yeah, we're new to mobile. Yep.
Do you broadcast your emergency messages over your phone system as well through the speakers in your phone system?
No, because not everybody on campus has an IP phone. Blazecast does have they can do IP paging, so they sell you big speakers that you can install, but we chose not to go that way.
Sorry, we do have Word of God capability in our phone system, and it can be done.
Yeah, but it wouldn't be through Blazecast though, that would be different, right? Yeah.
It's special conferences.
Yeah.
We've got the right to do that.
Yeah. Any other questions? Yes?
Do you market this through your student orientation?
I know there was a bunch of training, they went and did training with the Dons, the residence Dons, and there was posters that went up, and we put it in the Cord, which is our student newspaper. There was also, it was put in another student magazine, so those things were done, but that was done, December, January, so clearly we need to revisit that. It's certainly not a one-time done sort of thing. It needs to be constantly revisited and revamped and put out there all the time, because our population changes so much. So, we're just brand new at it. So we just implemented it in January of this year. So I think there's going to be some growing pains and some lessons learned and some best practices. But yeah, I think it's going to be good.
Do you have a service level agreement with special constables?
We're working on
Is that the horse before the cart before the horse? I don't know.
Or you don't have any of that.
Well, thank you everybody for coming. I appreciate your attention. I just have a couple of acknowledgements. I want to thank Richard and Steve and Lily from Carleton. They were a big resource for me. I pestered them quite a lot during this process. And at Banbria, Dave and Julia, they're their support team, and they have been phenomenal. They have been very responsive to me, so I appreciate them very much. Oh, I want to do my theme. Oh, wait. So thank you. I hope everybody enjoys Rick Mercer tonight.